I'm going to continue to preach the gospel, to serve people and help the homeless, but also to protect kids, as this is a God-given calling. And, it's still an abomination. It still vexes my spirit. And I still plan to protest, which is a God-given right and a constitutional right, and to continue in that manner.
I would encourage people who are interested in the story to see how the judge rules in his sentencing. I think it'll be illustrative. I think there will be a lot of attention paid to this, and I think that how he's sentenced will make a big difference. And I think that I encourage you to tune in close on November 28th. That's going to be his sentencing date. Anybody in Calgary is certainly welcome to attend at the courthouse and to see it go down live. It's always a very different live than the headlines cover it.
Sydney Vizard for Rebel News here in downtown Calgary for the verdict reading for Pastor Derek Reimer. This is taking place today, as well as the sentencing, which is expected later this afternoon. For those unaware, Pastor Derek Reimer began his series of legal battles after attending and voicing his concerns with a, quote, reading with royalty, end quote, event in a Calgary public library. In these programs, adults dressed in drag read to children while promoting sexual deviance. In protest, Reimer was first arrested for attending Seton Public Library during one of these programs, in which he was charged with mischief and causing disturbance.
We are now calling the police. Stop. We have the police coming, so it is your choice to leave or deal with the police.
Very abusive in there.
We aren't going
For
to...
love is love.
Hey,
that looks
guys.
like very hateful, very abusive.
I'm going to put you under arrest before I send you lawyer.
Contact Rebel. They're providing me with a lawyer. This is what happens when we go against the drag.
He was then arrested again for breaching bail conditions from his original arrest.
Calgary Police.
Hi, how are you?
You are currently under arrest for breaching your 200-meter no-go condition.
Even though he has now been acquitted of those original charges, today Pastor Derek was found guilty of violating the associated bail conditions. We're going to speak with Pastor Derek to get his reaction to the situation behind us, and we're going to talk to his lawyer for a legal update to the situation. And later today, when court resumes, we'll find out what the sentencing or punishment will be for this offense. To support Pastor Derek Reimer's legal battle, go to savepastorderek.com and donate.
This is for my second arrest, where I allegedly breached, or now I've been convicted and found guilty of breaching the 200 meters, the bail condition that was imposed on me from the original Seton Library charges. My lawyer, Andrew McKenzie, he feels like this shouldn't hold much weight because I was acquitted of those original charges, and this stemmed from there. But we're going to find out after lunch what the sentencing is on it.
And what's your reaction to this decision?
Any loss in court is disappointing, but honestly, this was the only one where I felt like, okay, that I may have crossed that invisible 200-meter line, but clearly in the video, you can watch it on my Facebook. This video is not hidden, and we saw it in court that this was just, a mistake and just unintentionally crossed that line. My second bail judge said to the Crown, well, did the officer just tell Mr. Reimer just to back up a little bit? And he said no. And the officer even testified at this trial that he had no discretion. So implying that he had to arrest me. So it's like my lawyer says, they're throwing spaghetti against the wall, so to speak, and just seeing what's going to stick. And I was overcharged. And for them, of course, they're going to be happy that I'm convicted of this breach. But I'm not too worried about it. The battle belongs to the Lord, and I'm confident still moving forward. There's a mens rea, and this is a court term that talks about your intent. It gets inside like the criminal mind, if you will, and you have to willingly, defiantly be breaking the law. Well, it was just proved in there that there was no mens rea, or the mens rea did not fit for this particular offense. Again, you can see in the video, and I did not intend to break that, but that didn't hold enough weight for an acquittal today. But after lunch, Andrew's going to come back with possible cases that have been, or breaches that have been dismissed based on an acquittal of the original charges. So yeah, we're going to take a long lunch here, come back and see what happens.
Pastor Reimer has had 4 trials so far scheduled. This is the 4th out of 4. And so today, the trial was, he came within 160, 70 meters of one of these drag events that are at the center of his ongoing courthouse drama. And the question is, was at a breach of its condition that he couldn't come within 200 meters. And that's with the officer swooping in, arresting him immediately, saying on the stand he had no discretion whether to arrest or not, and just basically allowing no grace anywhere. And the decision that came down today was that he was guilty and that it was found to be a breach of his conditions. The judge found that Pastor Ryman was reckless, that he came too close, even though it's not a strict liability offense, and that's a legal term for, it's not necessarily, you come in its radius and you're instantly dead. What you need to mean to do it, but the judge found that because he was close and that was reckless enough to create the guilty mind, needed to find him guilty for this charge.
As afternoon proceedings concluded, sentencing resulted in Pastor Derek Reimer being issued a $500 fine. We spoke with Reimer and his lawyer to get their reaction.
You know what? It's a consolation. I'm disappointed about losing, being found guilty, but, to throw $500 at it and it goes away, hey, that's good. I'll take that as kind of a half win. It's too bad it goes to my criminal record, but, we'll deal with that another day.
And how about your defense lawyer? Was he doing a good job? Did you feel confident in his decision making?
Yeah, Andrew's doing fantastic. I recommend him if you need a defense lawyer. And also, I just want to say I appreciate Rebel News telling you the other side of the story. People can go to help at SavePastorDerek.com. Thanks for all your donations. I couldn't do it without you guys. God bless and much love. I just want to give glory to Jesus Christ. I had an opportunity to do that in the courtroom, and the judge was happy with it, nodding and smiling, and really approved of my little speech in there. And, we all make mistakes. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God, but my God's a God of second chances, and there's eternal life in Jesus Christ, and He's changed my life, and it's evident, and it was surfaced in that courtroom today.
Now, I want to ask you one last question. When it comes to the continued drag queen story hour protests that we're seeing, how do you feel about the fact that they are ongoing, and are you going to do anything to protest this in any capacity?
Like I said in my speech in the courtroom, that I'm going to continue to preach the gospel, to serve people and help the homeless, but also to protect kids, as this is a God-given calling. And, it's still an abomination. It still vexes my spirit. And I still plan to protest, which is a God-given right and a constitutional right, and to continue in that manner.
Ultimately, I'm happy because this was treated fairly. This was treated proportionally to other breaches. This wasn't given special treatment because of any possible political implications or social implications or anything about LGBT one way or another. This was treated as a standard breach. It was sentenced as a standard breach, $500 fine, which was, again, quite reasonable, all things considered. I would prefer the decision didn't come down that way, but in the grand scheme of things, I think there was a reasonable amount of fairness at play offered to Pastor Reimer in this sentencing especially.
Now, in the totality of his proceedings, what is coming up for him? What's on the lookout?
So, people who have been following the story may know, again, there's been 4 trials so far. One was withdrawn on the day of trial by the prosecutor. Another was found guilty of criminal harassment and more breaches. This one today, guilty on one breach. And in my opinion, the big one, because it's the one that started everything, he received no conditions, he received no charges before his first protest at the Seton Library, at which he was acquitted. And I've spoken with Rebel a little bit before about this as well, and that's what happened. So this is the totality of what's going on. And what's interesting, a line that I frequently repeat with my clients, and it's a line that applies to virtually all criminal proceedings. This is a book, actually. This is a Stanford University book. It's called The Process is the Punishment. And by going through the court process, by spending 18 months on release conditions, effectively prohibiting him from conducting his street ministry, from preaching. He wasn't even able to use a microphone to preach. And including after he was found acquitted, there was a rally held. He had to raise his voice and not use a microphone for that rally. So he's been adhering to those conditions pretty carefully, but those conditions, despite on the face of them, and despite the bail judge saying that these aren't meant to criminalize protest, they've effectively prohibited him from protesting in this case. So the process has been the punishment here. His one remaining conviction, and this is the most serious conviction, he was convicted of criminal harassment about a month or two ago. And the criminal harassment, he attended at the library, he asked to speak with the manager, he spoke with her, shared his feelings. Nothing, in my opinion, particularly harassing, but he posted it later to social media, and that repeated communication was what crossed the line into harassment, and that's what he's going to be sentenced on in a month and a half. I would encourage people who are interested in the story to see how the judge rules in his sentencing. I think it'll be illustrative. I think there will be a lot of attention paid to this, and I think that how he's sentenced will make a big difference. And I think that I encourage you to tune in close on November 28th. That's going to be his sentencing date. Anybody in Calgary is certainly welcome to attend at the courthouse and to see it go down live. It's always a very different live than the headlines cover it.
For Rebel News, Sydney Fizzard. If you want to help support Pastor Derek in his legal battles, go to SavePastorDerek.com.